Hi students, welcome back. Coming to the next topic in the subject embedded systems was software for embedded systems. Software for embedded systems. So we know that whatever the embedded system that we have taken, that embedded system is consisting of hardware as well as the software. So the system, if the system wants to run, it requires the hardware parts, and to work the hardware parts, we need to install some software. A software, it's a piece of code. Okay. So now let's see what are the softwares that are used for the embedded system. So what is the software? Okay. Let me explain the embedded software. Embedded software. So the embedded software is it's nothing but it is a program that contains an let me write the point. It is a program. A software is a program. We all know that. It is a program that controls the embedded system. So embedded system is any of the system. Okay, so whether you have taken the microcontroller, mobile phone, or automobiles, so whatever the concept you have taken, whatever the embedded system is that you have taken, that system will be controlled by a program. That program you call it as a software. So this program is nothing but it is a piece of code. It is a piece of code written to perform a task. That code is written to perform a task. To perform a task means it is going to perform some action. Okay, so it's based on the time settings and based on the intervals and everything. So it's just a software program. It is a piece of code written to perform a task. So written specifically for the particular hardware that is runs on. So whatever the hardware we have taken, if you want to work, if you want to run that hardware, we need software. A software is a program which controls this hardware. So a program is a piece of code written to perform a particular task. So the embedded software loaded in microcontroller. Okay, so whatever the embedded software that we have taken, that embedded software loaded in microcontroller, which then take care of all operations that are running. Okay. Now let's see the tools that are needed to develop this embedded software. The tools need for developing the embedded software. So we said that the embedded software is nothing but a program which controls the complete embedded system. So if you want to design the embedded software, what you require? You require the tools. So what are the tools needed for developing the embedded software? The tools required to develop the embedded software includes editor to write the programs, compiler to compile the programs, and assembler to convert the high-level language program into assembly-level language, and the debugger to execute the programs. So these are the different tools needed for developing the embedded software. Now let's see what are the different embedded softwares. Let me explain you the examples. Embedded software examples. My main aim of this video is to explain what exactly the embedded software is. The embedded software is a program which controls an embedded system. So the tools needed for developing embedded software is editor, compiler, assembler. And the different examples for of embedded software are it's nothing but you can take this embedded software will hidden in watches. Means it's a piece of program which is going to control the watch. If the watch wants to run, so what you need to include some piece of code okay, piece of program that you have to be stored in the chip, so that the points will be rotate. Okay, it hidden in watches, and it also works on VCRs and even cellular phones. So the cellular phones is also consisting of some embedded softwares, and toasters, whatever the toasters you are using, those toasters is also having the embedded system, which is a chip is designed with hardware as well as the software, and it guides the missiles, and it controls the satellites also, controls satellites. So this software, embedded software, is designed to control the satellites and used in medical instructions, instruments. Okay, so these are all the different embedded software examples. Okay, now let me explain you the software complexity. So I'd explain what are the tools that you use it to develop embedded software and the examples of embedded software. Now how you can decide the software complexity? How can you measure the complexity of a software? So if you're designing the software, you have to think about different terms that you have to be considered while you're designing the software. The embedded software can be very simple, run on an 8-bit microcontroller with just a few kilobytes of memory. So the software complexity, this here, that embedded system, it's a very simple, which runs on 8-bit microcontroller with just a few kilobytes of memory. So it's just required only the few kilobytes of memory. You don't need to say use a lot of memory here. So just few kilobytes of memory is sufficient. So example, just like controlling lighting in the home. So by using the sensors or by using the remote or by using the chip, you're just controlling all the lights in your home. Okay, there a sensor is there. So that system is designed by using the embedded system. So for that hardware, you need software, that is the embedded software you require. So that software requires only a few kilobytes of memory. So that few kilobytes of memory is going to store all the information regarding the lights. And if you take the complex embedded systems, complex embedded softwares, so in which areas we will use the complex embedded softwares? So in aircrafts, if you want to design the embedded systems in aircrafts, like avionics systems, in that systems you need embedded software, but it is somewhat complex when compared to the normal embedded systems. And in missile guidance systems, and as well as navigation systems. So if you consider all these examples, in these examples you require the complex embedded softwares. So it's completely depends on varying requirements and hardware platforms. So the software complexity can be varying. It depends on varying the requirements of hardware platforms. Now let me explain you the requirements of software for embedded systems. So what are the requirements? Requirements of software for embedded systems. So what are the requirements? The first requirement you need to develop a software for embedded system is you have to check about the reliability. So whatever the software you are going to design, so that should be reliability. Means it should be reliable, because human intervention is not possible for error handling. So in general purpose systems, the human intervention is there. Okay, the human can interrupt the program, the human can add the memory, he can add the resources, whatever he want. But in embedded system, the human intervention is not possible for error handling. So those systems whatever you are designing, so for that systems a software has to be expect to run without human intervention to long period. So that explains the reliability. It should be reliable. So whatever the software that you are designing, that should be reliable, because human intervention means the human involvement is not possible for error handling. Okay, so they are expected to run without human intervention to long period. So the next requirement of software for embedded system is cost. The cost should be effective. Okay, the cost should be effective while you're designing the software. And next is you have to think about the power consumption. Okay, so you have to maintain the embedded system to acquire the property like low power consumption. Low power consumption. Next is the memory. Next requirement is memory. So I already explained that memory, you need only a few kilobytes of memory sufficient for your microcontroller to store this software. So they should make efficiency use of memory, because memory cannot be unbounded. So while you are designing the software, you have to make sure that you are using the efficient of memory. Okay, so how much you are required that you are using or not, you have to take care while you are designing, because there is no chance for unbounded, because the memory cannot be unbounded in microcontroller. And the next one is performance. The performance of your system. The performance requirement is the most important requirement, is that the timeline is. Okay, so you have to think about the timelines. So these are the different requirements of software for embedded systems. So the embedded systems usually written in non-volatile memory, means they are stored in the ROM or EEPROM, which cannot easily modified. So they are the permanent. So they are inbuilt in the they are designed while they are designing the chip. Okay, they cannot be easily modified. So this is about the softwares of embedded system. So whenever you asked about what are the software for embedded system, first you try to explain what is an embedded software and what are the tools that are used to develop the embedded software, different examples of embedded softwares, and finally the software complexity. How can you vary the software complexity and the requirements of software for embedded systems. Thank you.